This is Jeff Majewski of the IBM Corporation, Webster Application Server for ZOS installation and test. And we're going to be looking today in this demo at installing optional features for WAS V8 Beta. When we looked last time at installing base WAS and listed the installed packages, we saw two different package groups, one for Installation Manager and WAS. And in V8 install, we also have the concept of optional features. Optional features are things which you can choose to install or not install with a particular copy of code. You can see them with the list installed packages instruction in the IM command line interface. And when that runs, you'll see that Installation Manager has two features, Agent Core and Agent JRE with descriptions. And it appears that WAS has no optional features, but that is unfortunately a bug right now. They're not in fact listed in the installed packages, but if you list the available packages out of the repository with the features option, you can see all of the available features and what's in them. In order to specify list available features, you have to point at a particular repository. So we'll point at the same repository that we installed Webster Application Server from. And we also need to specify the keyring file, which contains the username and password credentials to access the repository, and we created this back in the beginning of Demo 2. So here we see that there are actually a number of optional features here. The core runtime, EJB deploy for pre-EJB 3.0, thin client, and samples. And the reason for splitting these out is partly for stability. If there's function you don't need, you should be able to omit it, but also because it reduces the footprint of the installed copy of WAS substantially. So you have some options here. If you wanted to install a particular option, either with the initial WebSphere install or later on, you simply issue the install command. And when Installation Manager sees comma samples here, it will go out into the current install location you specify. It will look and see if WebSphere Application Server is specified, but also look for samples. And if samples isn't installed, it will add it. Because we're downloading new code, we need to point to the repository again, the same one as when we installed WAS originally. We don't need to specify the install location if we simply specify the package group ID from the WAS install. So if we had several copies of WAS, we could obviously pick out the particular one we wanted. And we specify the keyring that has the credentials for the repository. This runs for about a minute and a half, not shown here, much of which is downloading the samples and then inserting them into the WAS code. And so that's complete. Obviously, it's much quicker than the install of the entire Webster Application Server package. And now if we go out and look in the target location, in the samples directory, we see the new material that's been added, and it just so happens that that's the current timestamp from just a couple of minutes ago. As I mentioned, there's currently a bug in the list installed packages which omits the product optional features. But there's another way that you can find out what optional features are installed, and that's actually a good one to know. If you look in the application data for the Installation Manager, which in our case is var IBM Installation Manager, and if you look in the installed.xml file, which is an ASCII, so we copy it to temp and then turn it into EBCDIC so we can view it briefly. This has information for IM itself and also for the various package groups like WAS80. If we scroll down, we'll see the individual features. So for example, the core feature, EJB deploy, samples. If you look, you'll see that some are not visible, some are selected by default, and some are not selected by default. In the case of samples, it wasn't originally selected, but we have manually added it, so it's there now, along with the others which are already installed. Now if we wanted to remove one of those features, either because we didn't need it or simply because it wasn't necessary at the current time, we use the uninstall command, and where uninstall IBM WebSphere OS 390 V80 would install the entire thing, as soon as we add a feature afterwards, we've limited the uninstall process to simply uninstalling that feature. And it's very easy. All we need to do is specify the offering, feature, and the package group. But of course, we have to go back to the binaries location for Installation Manager to actually run it, and then into the Eclipse Tools subdirectory. And when this is complete, we will have uninstalled the thin client option. And the uninstall is complete. If we want to uninstall several options, we can simply list all of them, and IM will uninstall them in one pass. If we'd wanted to install several options, the same thing would apply. You list the optional features comma separated after the offering name for the product that they belong to.